Hello, my dear students. So, you all are welcome again to my geography class, and I am here to discuss with you today the causes of migration, and also I will be discussing about the Indian diaspora. Okay, from the chapter number 2, migration types, causes, and consequences. So here basically we will be discussing on the different factors of migration. Okay, the different factors of migration, or you can say the different causes of migration. Okay, so let us proceed to the discussion. Okay, see, as I said in my previous class that migration basically refers to the movement of the people from one particular place to another for different reasons, isn't it? So these different reasons for which people migrate are actually the causes. Okay, so there are many causes of migration, and these causes can be grouped into two broad categories. The causes of migration can basically be grouped into two broad categories, such as the push factor and the pull factor. The push factor and the pull factor, these are the two factors of migration, or you can say under this push factor and pull factors, different causes are there which causes people to migrate. Okay. So we will be discussing in details about what is push factor and what are the different factors or causes which come under this push factor, and also about the pull factor, or what do we mean by pull factors of migration. Okay, so from here if you get an objective question like what are the factors of migration, so in that case you can write down the answer. The factors of migration are the push factor and the pull factor. Okay, so let us study about the push factor basically. See, push factor are basically those factors which cause people to leave their place of residence or origin. So here you can see that the push factors are those factors which cause people to leave their place of residence or origin. That means the factors which force the people, okay, the causes which force the people to leave their land, okay, to leave their place of residence and to migrate somewhere else are the push factor. So basically in our country we see that the people they migrate from the rural to urban area. Most of the migration which takes place, it is from the rural to the urban areas. Okay, so basically why do the people they migrate from the rural to the urban areas? Actually, see, some of the push factors in India for which the people migrate from the rural to the urban areas is mainly due to poverty, high population pressure on the land, lack of basic infrastructural facilities, okay, like the healthcare facilities, education and all. Okay, so these are some of the main push factors which force the people to migrate to the urban areas. Okay, the people they migrate from the rural to the urban areas because of poverty in the rural areas. Okay, because of high population pressure on the land, agricultural land. Okay, because of lack of basic infrastructural facilities or activities like the healthcare facilities, education facilities and all. Okay, but apart from these push factors, or apart from these factors, the people are also forced to migrate because of various natural disaster or natural calamities. Okay, like sometimes what happens when the natural disaster or the natural calamities occur, the people, okay, they migrate to some other places because the situation, the area becomes very vulnerable, okay, and it becomes dangerous for them to live in those areas. So in that case the people they migrate to some new places. Okay, like some of the natural factors, okay, which causes people to migrate are like the flood, drought, cyclonic storms, earthquake, tsunami, wars, okay, and the local conflict as well. Okay, so these are the different factors. Okay, these are the different you can say the natural factors or the natural disaster because of which people are forced to migrate. Okay, so basically you will see that the flood prone areas, the areas where frequently flood occurs, in those areas the human settlement or the human population is less because the people they have migrated to some other areas. The areas, okay, where always wars and political conflict goes on, people does not prefer to live in those areas. The areas which are hit by drought every year, people does not prefer to live in those areas. Okay, so what happens, people they migrate to some other areas. Okay, and even sometimes what happens, because of earthquake or tsunami or cyclonic storms, okay, the human habitation is largely affected. So in that case, the people has to move to some other place actually. Okay, so these are the different push factors, okay, which force the people to leave their place of residence or origin. Okay, the next, that is the pull factors we will be discussing now. Pull factors, see, pull factors are basically those factors which attract people from different places. Okay, pull factors are those factors which attract the people from different places actually, or you can say pull factors basically attract the people to a new place. Okay, so what are these pull factors actually, what are the examples of pull factors? See, the most important pull factor for majority of the rural migrants to the urban areas is the better opportunities, better job opportunities, availability of regular work and relatively higher wages. Okay, so these are some of the different pull factors which attract the people, okay, which attract the people to migrate actually. For example, basically in the towns and the cities we see that better job opportunities are available, regular work is there, and even the wages are relatively higher as compared to the rural areas. So this is the reason that the people living in the rural areas get attracted towards the urban areas, and the people they migrate from the rural areas to the urban areas. Okay, so such factors which attract the people, okay, are known as the pull factors. Apart from better job opportunities, higher wages, regular work and all, like better opportunities for education, better health facilities, sources of entertainment are also another factors which attract the people. Just take an example of a student studying in a rural area. Okay, so after completion of his school studies, colleges are not available in the rural areas basically. Okay, colleges are located a little bit out away from the rural areas, basically in the small towns and the cities and all, isn't it? So what will happen, so if that particular child wish to continue his or her education, he has to migrate to the another area where education better colleges are there, isn't it? So in that case, better education facility will attract that child actually. Okay, even people prefer to settle in those areas where better health facilities are there, sources of entertainment are there, better infrastructural facilities are there, isn't it? So such kind of factors or causes, okay, which attract the people to migrate are known as the pull factors. Okay, so these are the different factors of migration, or you can say these are the different causes of migration. So as I said, the causes of migration can be grouped into two categories, that is the push factor and the pull factor. Okay, so here we studied in details about the different push factors as well as the pull factors. Okay, now see next one. But the reason for migration of male and the females are different. Okay, it may be in the urban areas or in the rural areas, the cause or the reason for migration of the males and the females are different. Like basically if we take into consideration the rural areas, okay, for example, work and employment have remained the main cause for male migration in the rural areas, around 38%, while it is only 3% for the female, whereas only 3% of the females they migrate from the rural areas to the other areas for job opportunity, for employment. But 38% of the males who migrate, they migrate for employment opportunities. Okay, contrary to this, about 65% of female move out from their parental houses following their marriage. Okay, but whereas in the rural areas, around 65% of the females they migrate, okay, to some new places because of marriage, following their marriage, because they get married to a newer place and they has to migrate to those particular places actually. Okay, so the reason for male and female migration is a little bit different, okay, in the rural areas as well as in the urban areas. Okay, see, So we already discussed about the different causes of migration, the factors of migration actually. So I am going to teach you a very interesting topic now, that is the Indian diaspora. Okay, what is this Indian diaspora actually? So in order to study in details about Indian diaspora, first of all you should understand the meaning of the term diaspora. Okay, what does the term diaspora mean actually? See, a diaspora is a scattered population whose origin lies in a separate geographic locally. Okay, so a diaspora basically refers to a scattered population, okay, who belong to a separate geographical area or whose original residence is somewhere else. Okay, see, in simple terms, it can be said that a group of people who spread from one country, okay, a group of people who spread from one country to another country to other country is known as the diaspora actually, or the act of spreading in this way. So like we can see people of Indian origin, okay, people of Indian origin, they are now the permanent resident of different countries. Even there are many people of Indian origin, those who have settled in different countries recently actually. So this group of people who are the original resident of India, or who has their like their ancestor or the forefather, they lived in India, now settled in other countries, are known as the diaspora. Okay, Indian diaspora actually. So, it is estimated that around 20 million people of Indian diaspora or Indian origin are spread across 110 countries. So, you can see here that people of Indian origin, okay, are spread over 110 countries of the world. How many people? Around 20 million people of Indian origin. Okay, and these people, they have migrated to different countries of the world in different time periods. Some of them migrated during the colonial period, some of them migrated after the independence, some people they migrated during the 1960s, 70s and all. And even this process of migration to the other country is still going on. Okay, so in order to study in details about the Indian diaspora or about the trend of people migrating from our country India to the other countries, the Indian diaspora has been subdivided into three waves actually. Okay, there are three waves, or you can say there are three time periods at which majority of the Indian they migrated to the other countries. Okay, so we will be discussing in details about those three periods or the three waves of Indian diaspora. Okay, so let us study now in details about the Indian diaspora. See, so basically the first wave of Indian diaspora, or you can say that the first phase during okay, the first phase when the Indian people they started migrating to the other countries was during the colonial period, that is during the British period. Okay, so during the colonial period, or the okay, millions of the indentured laborers were sent to Mauritius, Caribbean island such as Trinidad, Tobago and Guyana, Fiji and South Africa by the Britishers from where? From Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. And why they were taken to those islands and all? To reunion the island, Guadeloupe, Martinique and Suriname by the French and the Dutch. Okay. So basically during the colonial period, many of the indentured laborers, okay, they were taken by the Britishers, or you can say they were forced, okay, some of the people they were forced to migrate, okay, to these new places and all by the Britishers, okay, so that they can work in these islands and all to reunion those, okay. Even not only the Britishers but the French and the Dutch, they also, okay, they also sent many people from UP and Bihar, okay, to different parts of the world actually, okay, so that which will help them to increase their work, which will help them to increase their plantation agriculture actually, because at that time the French, Dutch and the Britishers they started doing the plantation agriculture, okay, and for which they required many laborers and all. So as because in India, like many peoples where their population was high and they were available at a cheaper price, so they were all forced to migrate actually. Okay, by the Portuguese, even the Portuguese people also they sent people from Goa, Daman and Diu to Angola, Mozambique, to work as plantation workers. Okay, and all these people who were sent to different parts of the world, they were covered under the time bound contract known as the Girmit Act. Okay, and this Girmit Act is also known as the Indian Immigration Act. So basically these people were taken to different parts of the world, okay, on contract basis. Okay, and even after the contract got over, some of them stayed there or some of them were forced to stay there actually. Okay. However, the living condition of these indentured laborers were not better than the slaves. Okay, and you all know that during the that colonial period and all, like slave system was not so much prevalent. Okay, in different parts, but then also the condition of these people of Indian origin who were forced to migrate away, they were treated as laborers, they were treated as slaves and all. Okay, so basically the first wave of Indian migration took place during the colonial period. Okay, and in this period the people, they did not migrated voluntarily, but they were forced to migrate actually. Okay, the second wave, the second wave of migrants ventured out into the neighboring countries in recent times as professionals, artisans, traders, and factory workers in search of economic opportunities to the countries like Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Brunei, and African countries, etc. And the trend still continues. So basically, the second wave of in migration, okay, migration of the Indian people, it started after the independence. Okay, different like after the independence, many professionals, the artisans, the traders, factory workers, and also, okay, they migrated to the countries like Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia, Brunei, and the African countries. Okay, to avail the opportunities, because at that period of time, okay, means there was lot of opportunities in the neighboring countries and all. Okay, so the people, they migrate to those countries to earn, okay, to earn some extra income and all. So there was a steady outflow of India's semi-skilled and skilled laborers in the wake of the oil boom in West Asia in the 1970s. And during 1970s, after the discovery of the oil fields, okay, in the western part of Asia, basically in the Arabian countries and all, okay, many of the semi-skilled and the skilled laborers, they also migrated to avail the opportunity. Okay. There was also some outflow of entrepreneurs, store owners, professionals, businessmen to the western countries. And in this period during 1970s and all, even some of the entrepreneurs, businessmen, the professionals, store owners, they migrated to the western countries and all. Okay, to carry out the business, to work as a professionals and all. And the third wave of Indian diaspora, or you can say the third wave of my Indian peoples migrating to the other countries, it started, okay, during 1960s and all. Basically during this time, during the third wave of Indian people migrating to the other countries, basically the people who migrated were the professionals. Okay, the professionals like the doctors, the engineers, okay, and all, they started migrating to the western countries and all, because they want to avail the opportunities. Okay, they want to earn some more income and all. So this is the reason that many of the doctors and the engineers, they migrated after 1960s onwards. Okay, even in our country, like as we know that in our country the population is high, we are having like highly talented youths and all. So many of these youths, okay, who were the software engineers, the management consultants, financial experts, media persons and all, they also migrated to many of the western countries like USA, Canada, UK, Australia and all, okay, New Zealand and Germany. Okay, because there was a high demand of such people, okay, such skilled peoples actually. So they went to those countries and they have settled over there. Many of them have settled over there actually. These professionals, they enjoy the distinction of being one of highly educated, the highest earning and the prosperous groups. Okay. And after liberalization in the 90s, okay, the education and the knowledge based Indian immigration has made Indian diaspora one of the most powerful diaspora in the world. And after 90s, because of liberalization in the education sector and all, okay, and because of Indian people's, okay, acquiring skills, different on sectors and all, okay, they migrated to different countries of the world. And at present we can see or we can find people of Indian origin in different countries of the world. Okay, more than 100 countries are there where people of Indian origin are there, okay, where they have settled actually. So this is what about the Indian diaspora actually, okay. So basically Indian diaspora refers to the different waves at which the people of our country they migrated, okay, and they have settled in those country in different countries of the world actually, okay. So this Indian diaspora is one of the important topic for your board examination, because sometimes the questions, short questions, it comes from this Indian diaspora, okay. Even you may be getting a descriptive type questions also, like explain in details, okay, the three waves of Indian diaspora and all. So I hope you all are clear about the causes of migration as well as about the Indian diaspora, okay. So thank you my dear students.